Joining us right now, European Parliament member, Brexit Party leader, Nigel Farage. It is good to see you, sir. Thanks very much for joining us this morning.
Thank you.
Can you give us a status check in terms of Brexit right now?
Well, it's a complete mess. We're 3 years on from the vote. We are no closer to leaving whatsoever. And as a result of that, British politics is now in something of a meltdown. As you know, I'd fought for Brexit for years. I thought we'd achieved it. I launched a new political party less than 9 weeks ago. And as of last weekend, it was leading in the opinion polls in this country. So I'm putting massive pressure on the Conservative government and the Labour opposition to deliver Brexit. But at the moment, there's no sign of it happening.
Wow. Well, the President Trump sat down with the Irish Prime Minister yesterday. I want to play you the soundbite, having this to say about how Ireland will be affected by Britain's departure from the EU. Watch this.
I know that's a big point of contention with respect to Brexit as your border, and I'm sure it's going to work out well. There are a lot of good minds thinking about how to do it, and it's going to be just fine. I think ultimately it could even be very, very good for Ireland.
What would the impact be from your standpoint, Nigel?
Well, the Irish border, the land border between the United Kingdom and the Republic of Ireland, has been used again and again as a reason why Brexit can't happen, because if there are differences between the two countries, because we're not an EU member and they are, we'd need to build a hard border. And of course, what that brings back is memories of that dreadful 30-year period with thousands of people killed with terrorism. The truth of it is, actually, across that border today, we have a different currency, different income tax rates, different excise duties. So the truth of it is, the President's right. You know, with sensible, grown-up compromise, there will not be a major problem. And frankly, what is happening is globalist forces, big business forces are trying to stop Brexit from happening. The reality is, once we do it, we'll be free. And wasn't it interesting that one of the centerpieces of what Donald Trump said this week in London is that America is ready and prepared to do a big open trade deal with the United Kingdom. And I think that's an opportunity for both of us.
Nigel, hi, James Freeman at the Wall Street Journal. I wanted to ask you about that. Our ambassador to the U.K., Woody Johnson, said to your friends at the BBC this week that first he said that there were already negotiations for this trade deal, and then he corrected himself and he said there has been discussion about what it might look like. If there is a hard Brexit on Halloween, how quickly do you think a U.S.-UK trade deal could happen?
Well, my impression this week, talking to some senior US politicians who've been in London, is that actually the USA, on their side of this, have done a huge amount of work already. I'm sad to say that my impression is that the UK government have done nothing like enough. And I want to try and break the deadlock on this. I'm going to put together, in the next couple of weeks, a team of senior industrialists, and I want them to come over to DC to meet Bob Lighthizer, and let's start working on this, because the sooner we put this in place, the better it'll be, not just for both of our economies, but it also gives us a very powerful negotiating chip against the European Union.
And you've set that meeting up with you've set that meeting up already with Lighthizer?
That's what I intend to do over the course of the next few weeks. I think we need to move this on. Let's stop talking about it as a theory. Let's turn it into practice.
Nigel, it's Robert Wolf. Nice to see you. A couple questions. One, where do you sit with respect to the Prime Minister vote coming up? Number two, what's your view of a no Brexit exit, which most people think would be negatively impacting the economy of the UK, and you'd see new tariffs? And then number three, I know you're excited about a U.S.-UK trade deal, but that means there wouldn't be a UK-EU trade deal because you would likely have to be part of the WTO. So I think that would really push this trade deal with the U.S. kind of on the back burner. So I know idealistically you're saying some great things, but actually the idea of transacting those seem, you know.
Yeah, I mean, look, when we talk about a potential trade deal between the UK and the US, yeah, sure, we have to respect each other's specifications. We remove tariff, we remove some barriers. The point about the proposal with the European Union is that to have a tariff-free deal with them, they basically want us to go on paying them huge sums of money, limiting our ability to do trade around the rest of the world, and regulating that part of our economy, nearly 90%, that doesn't export to Europe. So I think to some of us, it's that WTO and the ability on WTO to negotiate with the USA or Australia or India or whosoever we choose, that I think now is a much more constructive way forward than being tied to European Union rules, which I think are holding back the British economy. Now, the date we've got, remember, March 29th was the date we were supposed to leave the European Union. We didn't. We are now supposed to leave on the 31st of October. Halloween, so trick or treaty is what everyone's talking about. I want to say this. Whoever the next Conservative Prime Minister is, if we do not leave on the 31st of October, I think that will be pretty much the end of the Conservative Party, the party that's been around for 200 years. At the moment, there are one or two, like Boris Johnson, saying, make me Prime Minister, and I will make sure we leave on that date. But, you know, talk is cheap, because Theresa May said the same thing. So at the moment, I have to be honest with you, I'm not convinced that any of the potential candidates have got the courage to really do this.
So what are you going to do? Are you going to run?
Oh, yes, absolutely. We've just had the European elections. My new party topped the poll. In fact, my new party in those elections got more votes than the Labour and Conservative parties combined. We're now leading in national opinion polls, and my message to the establishment here is deliver Brexit, or I will take you on at the next general election. And I know history says it's very difficult for new parties, but don't underestimate my determination to get Brexit delivered. I want us to be a free, independent, self-governing, democratic nation, and I believe, isn't that what people fought for on D-Day 75 years ago? A Europe of democratic nation states. That's where we need to be.
Yeah, well said, Nigel. All right, we'll be following. A lot of news there. Nigel Farage, good to see you. Thanks very much for joining us this morning.